Good afternoon. I'm Brian, and I want to answer your questions about winning asylum in America. Good morning. Good afternoon. Depends on where you are. I want to answer your questions. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with this community of asylum seekers. If we're just now meeting, I'm Brian Manning, and I'm an asylum lawyer. I used to be an asylum officer, but now I'm an asylum lawyer. I have a law firm. It's called Political Asylum Lawyers. And my law firm, we help immigrants all over the country. Doesn't matter where you are. We help people all over the United States to secure their future in America through asylum. Okay. So I want to answer your questions. But before you start dropping those questions in the comments, say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. Love to hear where you guys are at. Say hello. We already got folks in YouTube sounding off. Peter Salty says, "Hey, Brian, I'm a Christian Syrian in the UAE applying to Canada. The videos have been amazing and helping a lot. My question is, are the rules and procedures almost the same between the US and Canada?" I don't know. I don't know anything about Canadian asylum law. I would assume they're pretty similar because most countries have at least a lot of similarities because most countries based their laws off of the same United Nations convention having to do with like refugees and asylum matters that came out of World War II. Um, so a lot of them are pretty similar, but I don't know. I've never studied Canadian asylum law. Probably pretty similar. I mean, look, Peter, a lot of the things that I think that I talk about that aren't substantively legal things, but rather like how to explain things and how to think about answering questions and that sort of thing is going to be helpful, no matter what differences there may be in the law. But yeah, Peter, where? Okay, so you say you're in the UAE applying to Canada, like to go there as a refugee. Wow, interesting. Okay, good luck. Hope it works out well for you. Yalen Ong says, "Hey, Brian, good morning. I'm watching from San Jose. Nice. San Jose, California. That's YouTube, TikTok. Good morning. Facebook, LinkedIn. Good morning. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. Used to be an asylum officer, but now my law firm, we help immigrants all over the country secure their future in America through asylum. Uchi, William, Evenson, Community Guideline, all of you on TikTok. Everyone coming on TikTok. Good morning, GM. Good morning, says Community Guideline. Nice. Who we got? Who we got? William. Thanks for being with us. All right. Sadashiv. Good morning. Fritz. Good morning or afternoon. Aliona. Привет. Спасибо. Большое. Вот. All right, we got Sadashi says, "Hello, sir. Today I'm watching from Central New York." In Central New York, interesting. Fritz is up in Kansas. "Good morning, watching from Kansas." Cool. Where else we got? Where are you guys at? Let me TikTok. Where are you at? Good morning. Let me know where you're at, or good afternoon for our friends on the East Coast. Yep. So I want to answer your questions. Go ahead. Start leaving your questions in the chat about whatever you want to know about asylum. I don't really do questions about family based immigration or about employment based immigration, really any immigration other than asylum. That's what we're laser focused on at my law firm. That's what we do all day, every day. Okay. And so that's what I'm here to talk about because that's what I know. That's what I think I'm good at. Вот, здравствуйте, Йона. Раньше говорил чуть-чуть по-русски, сейчас, к сожалению, нет, забыл все, к сожалению. All right, we got AAAA in Seattle. Yona, where are you at? Where you watching us from today? Cristo Baptiste says Houston, Texas. So guys, we're based in Houston, but it doesn't matter because we help immigrants all over the country. It doesn't matter where you're at. We have clients all over. We have a lot in Texas. That's where we're based, but we have tons also in lots in California, New York, Florida, all that stuff. All right, all over the place. All right. Oh, interesting question. Quadruple A says, "I saw that Reno, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, and Sacramento all fall under the San Francisco Asylum Office. Does location affect the interview process? Any pros, cons of being in a smaller city like Reno versus a bigger city like San Francisco?" Yes, interesting question. The question is this. So you know how there's only a limited number of asylum offices across the country, and they've each got to cover a pretty big area. So, for example, when I worked at the Houston Asylum Office, we didn't cover people that live just in Houston or just in Texas, but rather several states. In fact, we even traveled as asylum officers far away because the Houston Asylum Office had under its jurisdiction Colorado and even Utah. And so the Houston Asylum Office would send officers on what they call circuit ride trips to go to these locations to do interviews there for people who live there. So the question here is, well, okay, let's say you live in a city that is covered by an asylum office, but it's like far away. So in this, to go back to this example, Houston covered people in Colorado, and so like let's say someone lived in Denver and they applied for asylum, their case goes to the Houston Asylum Office. Is it advantageous in any way or disadvantageous to be in one of these faraway cities rather than rather than being in or near the main city where the office is located? There there is a chance, honestly. Yes, there's a bit of a downside in the sense that it often takes longer to get your interview scheduled because the main office, the office that covers that area, will send asylum officers there on these circuit rides, but there's not as many interviews scheduled there because it's expensive and stuff to send officers out on these trips. So there's usually like, or at least when I was at the Houston Asylum office, there would be like usually at any time two officers doing interviews in Denver, to go back to our example, and that's just not many interviews to get done. So like, yes, it can be disadvantageous to um, in terms of the timing. It might take longer to get your interview scheduled if you are far away, such that you might be interviewed at a circuit ride location. All right. All right. Uh, nice. Ulrich TM says, "Oh, we got Fred in Minneapolis. That's where I went to law school. I went to law school at the U, as they call it up there, the University of Minnesota. I love Minneapolis. Man, Minnesota is good living up there. I like it up there. It's nice." Ulrich says, "Hey, Brian, I'm an asylum seeker. My wife is a dependent in my case, came with a visitor visa. What happens if at our interview my visa is still valid and my wife became AOS? Can we be referred to the court?" I'm not sure what you mean, Ulrich, when you say my wife became AOS. Can you restate that? I don't know what that means. Can you restate what you mean by my wife became AOS? I can answer it like this. I'll try to answer. I'll give you an answer and let me know if this covers what you're trying to ask about your wife, because I'm not sure what you mean by my wife became AOS. The question is this: what happens if at your asylum interview you get a negative decision after it and you still have legal status, but your spouse does not, and your spouse is a dependent in your case? Um, yeah, your spouse can get referred. Your spouse can get referred to immigration court. So you will get what's called just a denial. First, you get a notice of intent to deny, and you're going to answer that. And if you still don't have success, if you don't change their minds, you're going to get denied. But because your spouse does not have legal status at that time, they're probably going to put your spouse in deportation proceedings. In which case, if your spouse fears being harmed in your country, in their country, then they would need to apply for asylum because your case goes away. Your case has ended, is gone away, and your spouse, who's now in deportation proceedings, cannot benefit from it because it doesn't exist anymore. So if they want to get asylum, they would need to file as a principal applicant, and they would need to do so quickly within a reasonable time of your asylum case being denied. And I would say that usually means like 2 months is safe. Within 2 months of your final denial, if they apply for asylum, they'll be safe. Because this concerns the 1 year filing deadline, but they'll qualify for an exception almost certainly if they file within a couple months of your case getting denied. Okay. All right. Lu Miting says, "I'm a current asylum seeker. My wife had a history of inadmissible and deportation back after she arrived on a student visa. How would that affect my asylum case?" It won't. It won't. Well, let me rephrase that. It depends what she's inadmissible for. If there are security concerns, then she will not get asylum, even if you win. But if it's something other than that, then it will not keep her from getting asylum if you win your case. Okay, and it will not affect your case negatively. Look, the question is this: let's say you have filed an asylum application and your spouse is a dependent in your case. They're included in your case. But your spouse has some problems, some legal problems. Maybe they've been deported or had some issues. Is that going to hurt your case? And what does it mean for them? Well, first of all, the good news is that it doesn't really hurt your case. It doesn't mean that like it's not even taken as a negative factor for the question of whether you qualify for asylum or not. I mean, look, it could, um, it could be subconsciously or just like psychologically a bit of a negative thing in the officer's mind, but it's not formally like a negative factor against you. There's not that many things that can make you ineligible for asylum. Like getting the mere fact that someone's been deported before does not make you ineligible to necessarily to get asylum here. Um, but there are some things that can keep you from getting asylum, especially security related things. So they're going to look and analyze her. If they say yes, we're going to give asylum to you, then you win asylum. But they're going to look at her or him and say, do they qualify or are they ineligible because of whatever their history is? And if they're deemed ineligible, like they're not eligible for asylum and they don't have some kind of legal immigration status right now, they're going to get put in deportation proceedings. You could win asylum and your spouse could be put in deportation proceedings if they find that your spouse is just not eligible for asylum. Okay. All right. AJ wants to know, hello, does the USCIS directly go to deportation process if they deny the asylum case, or is there a process at the court? If so, how long is the process? How long does it take to get appealed in a court at most? All right, so basically the question is this. If you get denied by USCIS, are you going to get deported or do you have a second chance? How does it work? So look, the good news is you don't get deported right away. You get put in deportation proceedings where your case is sent to immigration court. And it's kind of like an appeal in the sense that you do get another chance. You get a chance to convince a judge this time that you qualify for asylum. And that process is going to take a while, probably at least a year, honestly, probably 2 or 3 years or 4 years. And eventually the judge will give you a decision and they can give you asylum or they can do a deportation order. If they do that, it's not over yet. If you want to keep fighting your case, there's actually 2 levels of appeals that you can make after the immigration court phase. And each of those phases is going to take a while, probably at least a year. In fact, probably multiple years for each of those 2 appeals. So look, the good news is if you don't have success at the USCIS asylum office, it's not like all hope is lost. There are other chances still to stay and keep fighting your case and potentially win. Okay, so don't give up hope. You want to try to win. You should do everything in your power to win your case at the asylum office. But if you don't give up hope. It's still possible to have success. All right, let's see. What did you say, Sadashiv? I was assaulted in 2012 and still have the marks on my body, but when I filed my I-589 in 2017, I did not submit the pictures. Will it be okay to carry it for the interview? It's on October 1st. I think you should send the pictures ahead of time. I think you should send any evidence that you want the officer to consider at least like a week ahead of time. Okay. Okay. Look, if it's just pictures, honestly, it's probably okay to take it on the day of your interview, but there is a little bit of risk that they could reject them. They could say, nope, we're not going to consider these. Or they could say, if you want us to consider these, we're going to have to reschedule your interview. And that's not good. You do not want them to reschedule your interview. You want to have your interview as soon as possible. Look, Sadashiv, there is time to get help with the most important part of your case, the most important thing that you can do, the biggest lever that you can pull to increase your chances for success. We've got time for that if your interview is October 1st, but you have to act quickly. Please, Sadashiv, I want you to go to this website. Go to asylumprep.com. We recently started offering this special offering, this special packet of support, a service that is all about the preparation. And listen, the preparation for your case is the most important part. It's much more important than what you said in your application. It's much more important than what you said in your declaration. It's much more important than evidence. It's much more important than having a legal brief from your attorney. It's much more important than having an attorney represent you on the day of your interview. To be clear, I tell you this with full confidence as a former asylum officer and now asylum lawyer, the preparation that you do, the practice that you do for your interview is the most important thing you can do, okay? And we're now offering a service that's just all about that, which means you're not hiring us to actually be your lawyers. You're just hiring us to help you prepare for the interview. And because of that, it's cheaper. It's a fraction of the cost of what it normally costs to hire us to be your lawyer for your full asylum case. Okay. And also we can do it on a shorter timeline. We can do it quickly. Okay. So Sadashiv, we still have time, but you need to go check out this webpage. asylumprep.com. And if you think it sounds like it could help you, just click on the little blue button on the page, and that will take you to a page where you can schedule a consultation, because you have to do a consultation first. You cannot skip straight to what we call the mock asylum interview experience. That's the name of this service. It's called the mock asylum interview experience. You can't go straight to that. You need to do a consultation first to see if you qualify, because not everyone qualifies. Okay. I'm just going to show you real quick what it looks like. It looks like, oops, it's covering me up. It looks like this. There I am. It looks like this. This is the web page, how it looks if you go to asylumprep.com. There's a little video up top, and it's pretty long. Okay. It's very detailed about exactly what this is and why I think it can help you. And then if you scroll down, it's a lot of the same information that's in the video, but it's just like in written format in case you prefer to read rather than to watch the video. But it's, look, this web page is very long. It's very detailed. Here's a bunch of testimonials from people who are saying, yes, the mock interview is super important, super great, super helpful. All right. This person, Comi de Milano, says the mock interview is really great. And then the mock interview is really helpful. What the attorney asked me was exactly the same I was asked at USCIS, being honest here. I went on the day of my interview with confidence. That's maybe the most important thing here, is that, like, you can go into your real interview with confidence. Let me make this bigger so you can see these a little bit better. Yeah, there we are. You can go into your real interview with confidence, feeling prepared and ready to do a great job, because you know what kind of questions you're going to get asked. You know what it feels like to be in this position. You know what the different procedures are for the day. You've gone through it. You've gotten expert guidance and feedback and input, and it makes all the difference in the world. The preparation is the most important part, and now we're offering this as a standalone service so that it's by itself. It doesn't mean full representation. It's just the preparation. So it's much more affordable. But it's the most important thing I think that you can do to increase your chances for asylum success. It's at asylumprep.com. You can learn all about it. Okay. Asylumprep.com. All right. Not the boy VES says, hey, Brian, I had my interview on Monday the 8th, and on the 9th, the letter was mailed to me by USCIS. Just saw that it's coming today, but I'm just wondering what the letter is all about. The question, well, no, actually, just let me do it like this. Look, if it was sent the day after your interview, it's probably not your decision. It's probably a letter that says you need to come back well, I don't know, not the boys. Did they tell you to come back in 2 weeks to get your decision? Or do they say they're going to mail it to you? That's what I need to know to answer your question. Yeah, I have to know that. All right. Nobody on YouTube says, hey, Brian, how should you describe a traumatic event in the past when you have lost some memories and still be credible? Yeah, the question is this. So how do you go about describing an event from your past where you don't really remember it all that well? I mean, look, this is common, right? A lot of people are talking at their asylum interview about events that happened a long time ago, and they may have been very traumatic and under traumatic circumstances, and it may be impossible to remember a bunch of details. So how do you give the officer the level of detail that they need while still being, faithful and credible? Well, look, you need to spend some time thinking about it before your interview. And I would recommend putting it in writing, describing it in detail. If you didn't describe it in detail in your declaration, describe it now in writing for yourself in as much detail as you can, which I know is difficult. I know it can be re-traumatizing to go back and think about these things. But if you want to win your asylum case, you need to do it, unfortunately. So I would say just remember everything that you can. Take the time, take some hours, several days before your interview or now, to think through it, write out everything you can remember, and then memorize that stuff. Okay. Don't make things up. Don't guess or think about, don't say what you think might have happened. Just remember what you can really remember and go with that. Okay. So be honest, but the main thing is do spend time ahead of time actually thinking through it when you're in a calm environment, as opposed to when you get in the interview and you're stressed out and it's hard and you may be with an officer who's hostile. You just need to think through this ahead of time. Okay. All right, Ralph 19 says, "Dear lawyer, we were referred to the court in California for an asylum that USCIS didn't approve. Is it uh in am I in, is it danger to go to the first time without the lawyer and request more time to find a lawyer?" Um no, it's not dangerous, but it's I think it's better to, well, no, it's not dangerous in my opinion, but you want to, in my opinion, the sooner you can get your case through, the better. And by doing that, you're taking up more, you're taking more time. And so it's not ideal. If you know, Ralph, if you know you're going to get a lawyer, why not get one now? Do you not have time? Is your hearing like in the next few days, next week, or what? It's ideal to have a lawyer from the beginning and not have to go and ask for more time to get a lawyer, in my opinion. Okay. All right. Uh, Yilinong says, "My question is, if we're doing a mock interview, do I need to have an interpreter for interaction Q&A?" Good question. The question is this. So if you do a mock interview with my law firm, but you don't really speak English so well, do you need to provide an interpreter? Before answering, first of all, what am I talking about? Look, with our clients, people who hire us like for full scale representation, we always do a practice interview or a mock interview. Always. It's the most important thing that we can possibly do in a case, in any case. It's preparation. And the preparation for the interview, the practice is the most important thing. And we offer this to our clients who hire us for like full scale representation, but now we also offer it as a standalone service. You don't have to hire us and pay the full attorney fees. Look, we charge between $11,000 and $16,000 for full scale representation, but we offer this standalone interview preparation service for a fraction of that, at just under $3,000. You can find out all about that at asylumprep.com. So look, what I want to say though is that we do this mock interview, the practice interview, and then a follow-on debrief session, both for our normal clients that hire us for full-scale representation, and for people who hire us just for the preparation, for what we call the mock asylum interview experience. And in both cases, we offer it in English and Spanish. But if you're not going to speak one of those languages at your interview, then I do think it is better. Then you would need to provide someone to interpret during our practice interview. Okay. Because the only languages that that we speak with our network and our people who do these is English and Spanish. Okay. So yeah, anyone who does a mock interview with us and is going to speak a language other than English or Spanish would need to provide their own interpreter, both for their real interview and for their mock interview and debrief session with us. Okay. All right. Nice. Armando says, "Hey, Mr. Manning, my case was referred to the immigration court in Miami. I have my master calendar hearing on September 23rd. My case is solid. Been threatened by the FARC in my country, Colombia. Acts of terrorism. Thoughts?" Um, it's it's hard. It's a hard case to win. Look, we have a lot of Colombian clients. Um, in fact, we have a lot of Colombian staff on our employees. Um, we know these cases well. We know the circumstances, the conditions, and we've had success, we've had success with FARC, but it's not easy. It's not easy. Look, Armando, I know you may be thinking like, "Oh, I got a solid case. I'm going to win." But look, you already lost. You lost once. You lost at the asylum office. The fact that the asylum office didn't approve your case means that you lost. It means that they said you do not qualify for asylum. Okay, this is kind of a misunderstanding, or it's a common misconception that people think that the asylum office just like passes your case over to the court for like any old reason, or that it doesn't really matter. It does matter. It means that the government looked at your case and said you lose. They said you don't qualify for asylum. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the road. You do get another chance at immigration court. So it's not like all hope is lost. But I'm just trying to tell you, it's not like we're like, "Oh, no big deal. It's a solid case. I should win." It's hard to win asylum. Okay. It's hard to win asylum. So you got to do everything possible to present the strongest case possible. Okay. All right. What do I think about it? I can't. I have to tell you, Armando. I have to tell you, or I have to talk with you. We have to talk with you in a consultation. and we want to get to know you. We want to understand your case, your situation, and then we can tell you whether we think you have a real chance for success. But we have to ask you a lot of questions. All right. Armando, you can go to winasylum.com, or if you want to do it in Spanish, you can go to asiloahorro.com. Otra vez, asiloahorro.com para consultar la consulta para hacerlo en español. All right. Peter Salty says, thank you for the clarification. My interview is in a month and I'm trying to prep now. Anything people usually forget before attending? That's interesting. What do people forget before attending? Nothing's coming to mind in terms of things that people forget, but like there's tons of things that people don't know. And the biggest problem, Peter, is that they haven't practiced. They haven't actually practiced the interview. And Peter, if your interview is in a month, there's still time for us to help you. There's still time for you to practice with us in the context of what we call the mock asylum interview experience, Peter. You can learn all about it. Peter, have you seen this webpage yet? I've been showing this URL, but I don't know if you've actually seen it. Have you gone to asylumprep.com yet, Peter? I want you to go there. Please check it out. If you think it could be helpful, click on the blue button to schedule a consultation, okay? To see, because we need to talk with you and see if you qualify, because not everyone qualifies for the mock asylum interview experience. You have to qualify, which means you have to do a consultation. But you should start here at asylumprep.com, Peter, to see what you think. See if you think it sounds good. All right. All right. J6311 says, I stayed for a few months in USA and changed my religion, went back to my own country 3 weeks ago, got threats by family, traveled back to the US recently. Can I apply, or is it hard for not seeking asylum first? No, you should be all right. You should be all right. Look, the officer will have a lot of questions about, like, wait, or the officer will want to know, okay, when did you become afraid? Like, when you were here the first time and you changed religions, did you know, or did you feel like this could put me at risk? Or were you kind of thinking like, yeah, maybe, but like it didn't really feel real to you until you went home and then you started actually getting threats. And then you were like, oh my gosh, this is serious. I cannot be safe in my country. I have to seek asylum. If it's the latter, if you are someone who is kind of like what I just described in the latter part, then it's okay. It's understandable that people went back to their country. So the bottom line, J6311, is that it's not going to keep you from winning asylum necessarily, but the officer's going to ask you some questions about it. And if they want to deny you, it could be used as one of multiple negative sort of factors or marks against you. But by itself, it will not keep you from winning asylum. I'm pretty confident in this case, especially. Okay. All right. Okay. Not the boy VES. Yes, I was given a letter to come back in 2 weeks. Then the letter that was sent after your interview probably says, don't come back in 2 weeks. We're going to send you your decision in the mail. That's my theory. I say that with like 65% confidence. That's probably what the letter is going to say. Okay. All right. Entonces, is there any chance to get, Imam Hussein wants to know, is there any chance to get a decision on the same day of the interview? Good question. The question is this: is it possible to just maybe get your decision in your affirmative asylum case on the day of your interview? So you go to the USCIS asylum office, you have your interview. Is there ever anyone who actually gets the decision right then and there? No. Nope. Not going to happen. They don't do it. The only options are, which they're going to tell you at the end of the interview, which one it's going to be. It's going to be one of two things. Either you come back in 2 weeks to pick it up in person to the office, or we're going to send it to you by mail. They're never going to give you the decision at the end of the interview or on the same day. The officers are trained not to even give you any hints, like to say anything that indicates which way they're going to decide or which way they're leaning. They're trained and they're told not to even do that. Okay. So you really leave not knowing. Even look, if it goes really poorly, then people often have a good sense that they're not going to win. But if it goes well, or if it seems like it goes well, Honestly, that you can't count on that. That does not necessarily mean you're going to get approved. Often it seems to go very well, but people still get denied. So you really shouldn't leave thinking, oh, I can predict what's going to happen. You don't know. Just got to wait, unfortunately. All right, consequences of seeking asylum under Trump administration. Srinivas Babu wants to know. So the question is this: is it still even possible to win asylum now with the Trump administration doing everything it can to deport as many people as possible and crack down on asylum seekers? Yes, it is still possible because we're doing it. Look, it's harder. It's harder. I think the approval rate has fallen drastically. We know this from immigration court statistics that before Trump, it was like 52% approval for asylum cases. Now it's 36% approval. We don't know the asylum offices because they haven't published statistics in several years, but I'm pretty sure the asylum office approval rate is even lower, and then it's dropped a lot since Trump took over, and then I think it's going to get lower and lower. Every month that Trump is in office, I think it's going to get harder and harder to win asylum, which means if you have an affirmative asylum case pending with USCIS and you've been waiting for a long time, in my office, we say if you've been waiting 5 years or more, then we think you're in a good position to sue the government with a mandamus lawsuit and force them to give you your interview. I think you should do that, or at least talk with an asylum lawyer to consider doing that, because it's better to have your interview probably a few months from now than it is to possibly get called for your interview a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, when I think the approval rate is going to be a lot lower. But look, it's possible to win. We keep winning. We're going to keep winning. It seems like every day that we're getting approval notices in my office, okay? It's hard, but we're winning. We keep winning cases. So keep the faith. Don't give up. It is possible to win your asylum case even now. All right. Wow. Jack Ajax says, wants to know this. The question is this: when your case gets referred from USCIS over to the immigration court, what happens to your work permit? Can you keep working legally? Yeah, you can. It's good news. Look, the fact that your case has been transferred, or referred as they call it, from the asylum office over to immigration court for deportation proceedings, it has no impact on your ability to work legally. It doesn't affect your work permit card. And actually, you can even keep renewing your work permit card. When it becomes time to renew it, you can renew it as long as your case remains pending in immigration court throughout that time. It doesn't matter if it takes 6 months or 6 years in immigration court. You can keep working legally as long as you keep renewing your card. Okay. And actually, the same is true if you get a deportation order in immigration court, but you do an appeal. While it's on appeal, you can keep working legally and keep renewing your work permit. Same thing with the next level appeal. So for all these appeals, you can keep working and keep renewing your card, thankfully. All right. Irbaz Mahmoud wants to know, the officer asked me to pick up my decision in 2 weeks, but then the next day they told my lawyer not to come to pick it up, but rather than mail the decision. What's up with that? The question is this: so why might the asylum office tell you, yeah, come back in 2 weeks to pick up your decision, but then during that time they reach out to you and they say, actually, never mind, don't come back in, don't come in, we're going to mail it to you instead? Why does that happen? Usually it's just the fact that they're overwhelmed and they know they're not going to have time to finish processing the case, to make the decision and do all the administrative processing that goes along with concluding a case. They're just not going to have time to do it before the date they told you to come in on. And so rather than tell you, oh, wait, maybe come in another week after that, when they don't know if they're going to finish the case before then, really, they just say, don't come in, we're going to mail it to you. Okay. So that's usually what it is. Usually it does not mean anything bad for your case. Usually it does not mean there's a problem. It's not an indication that you're going to lose. Okay. Usually it's just they're overwhelmed. They don't have time to finish everything before that date. Okay. All right. Hamdi Talat wants to know, what qualifies a person to get asylum approved? Do they need to prove that they went to prison for political reasons or something like that? Or just being from a country like a dictatorship is enough? Good question. The question is this: to win asylum, do you have to prove that you've really been through bad things, or that someone really wants to harm you? Or on the other hand, is it enough just to show that, you're from a country that is rough, or where bad things are happening, or maybe it's a really repressive dictatorship? look, you have to prove that you personally are at real risk of persecution. Okay. It is possible to win even though you've never been harmed in the past, even though you've never been actually threatened or even targeted, but rather based on the fact that just because of who you are, your profile puts you at risk because in your country there is widespread persecution of people like that. But look, it's not, but that also is just by itself is not enough. The persecution that we're talking about here has to be motivated by the fact that you, asylum applicant, possess one of the five protected characteristics under U.S. asylum law: race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or something called membership in a particular social group. So, as you can tell, it's starting to get complicated, and it gets a lot more complicated. There's a lot more to it than that. So, look, anyone who's afraid of being harmed in their country, uh, and you're an immigrant in the United States, talk with an asylum lawyer. Explain your situation. Let them ask you questions to get information they can use to help explain to you, whether you have a real chance of winning possibly, and just explain how it works. All right. That's what I think. All right. Let's go. No, not the boy VES. No, as I was explaining a second ago, no, it's not a bad sign. Okay. Oh, Thomas Kalonji is from the DRC, based on minority ethnic group and my father's political opinion. What ethnic group? Are you Chaluba? Are you what ethnic group are you from, Thomas? Where are you from? Are you from Kinshasa? Are you from Buji-Mayi? Are you from Lubumbashi? If you can't tell, I'm trying to flex my Congo Kinshasa knowledge. I know Congo really well. Um, Personal ties to Congo. Thomas, we know Congo cases really really well. Um, uh, what was the question though? What do you? Oh, the question was, what do you think about the New York Bethpage officers? It's hard to win asylum there. It's bad. It's tough there. It's a tough office, Thomas. Unfortunately, they have a very low approval rate. Unfortunately, Thomas, what day of next week is your interview? Is it like Thursday or Friday? If it is, there's time for us to help you, but you would have to schedule the consultation today with us and have it on either tomorrow or Monday at the latest, and hire us the same day. You'd have to hire us not later than Monday. And then if it's Friday, we would have time to do it. Go to asylumprep.com if you want to learn about how it works. All right. If not, just go to my YouTube channel and just watch all the videos about the asylum interview. Okay. All right. Uh, what are the consequences of double citizenship? Romania and Moldova can have a negative impact on my asylum. Yes, it can. It makes it much harder. Look, Luba from Kasai, grew up in Katanga, Lubumbashi, 18th Thursday. Okay. Um, Thomas, look, Thomas, go to this page, go to asylumprep.com. If you want to do that and you want to hire, if you know like that you want to hire us for that, and you do it, if you know you want to hire us for that, then I want you to send an email to this address that I'm putting right now in the chat, info@politicalasyluምላwyers.com, and say, Brian said that if I emailed this address today, that you could do a consultation for me same day or next day on an expedited basis, so I can hire you for the interview preparation. If you send an email like that, I'll have my team reach out to you, and we can do the consultation today or tomorrow. And then you would need to hire us by like the end of the day tomorrow in order for us to help you with this. But this could be a huge help for you, Thomas. All right. Back to Alex's question about dual citizenship. The question is this: can you win asylum in the United States with dual citizenship? So you're a citizen of two countries. What does that mean for your asylum case? Well, look, it makes it really hard to win. Not impossible. We have won cases where people are dual citizenship, but it's really hard. It's really rare to win. Here's the thing. This is weird, but if your case, whether it's an asylum office in the state of New York or an immigration court in the state of New York, if that's where your case is, you're in luck. You only need to prove that you meet all the asylum eligibility requirements with respect to one country, either of the countries of your nationality, of your citizenship. So you're in luck if your case is there. If it's anywhere else in the United States, the position of the US government is that you need to prove that you qualify for asylum with respect to all countries of citizenship. So if you're a citizen of, Romania, Moldova, if you're having your case heard anywhere other than New York, you're going to have to show that you qualify for asylum with respect to both countries. You meet every single requirement for country A and for country B. And for most cases, that's very hard to do. For this reason, a lot of people move to New York. A lot of people move to New York to have their case heard there, to have their case transferred there, because it's much, much, much easier. I know it's weird that the law is basically different. It's the interpretation of the law that's different, because of the way our legal system works, which is kind of weird, but that's how it is. All right. All right. Belinda wants to know if asylum law allows past or future persecution and COI, country of origin information, shows that Afrikaners are targeted. Is a case strong with only past threats but no physical harm? I wouldn't say it's strong. No, I don't think it's strong because there's not country conditions information for South Africa that shows widespread persecution of Afrikaners or other minorities in South Africa. Which is not to minimize problems because they exist, but there's not in my opinion, there's not country conditions information that is so extensive that makes the officer conclude, oh yeah, anyone who's an Afrikaner in South Africa is at grave risk. Just being an Afrikaner is enough to make it a real good chance they're going to be persecuted. I think the country conditions information does not necessarily support that. However, it's not impossible to win that. It helps that the Trump administration brought in a bunch of Afrikaners as refugees because, they said that's basically what the Trump administration was saying is that, yeah, they are a real risk. So there's an argument to be made, but it's not going to fly with a lot of asylum officers. Okay. But Belinda, look, the threats help. They help an asylum case. Okay. Yeah, it's not impossible. Belinda, it's not impossible. Actually, I was just talking about how I know the Congo well. I know South Africa pretty well. So I spent time in Cape Town a few times, or a couple times. I studied once for a semester at the University of Cape Town, and read a lot about it. So I'm pretty up to speed on the issues there. Belinda, if you want to talk with my team about your situation, we would be happy to do that. We do that through a consultation, which you can schedule at winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. Okay. Winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. All right. Yeah, Alex, doesn't matter. I know that it sounds like your contacts with Romania are minimal. Doesn't matter. If you're a citizen, you're a citizen is what the officer is going to say. Okay. Lou Matink says, can you say the Ethiopian Tigray War has gotten the same attention as Congo or Afghanistan? No, it is not. Most Americans don't know anything about Ethiopia. The asylum officers will have heard of it, and some of them will have handled cases that touch on this, but no, it's not nearly as prominent or well known as Afghanistan for sure, and probably not as well known as the Congo's history as well. But we know it. We know it. We've won Lou MTG. We've won cases from Ethiopia. We know these cases. All right. All right. Ancient once says, I applied for asylum 8 years ago, but didn't have legal guidance. I resubmitted the case with a new personal statement. Will they object to the new personal statement since I had an old statement? Ancient, to be completely honest with you, we usually do not submit an updated statement from our clients because, yeah, I think honestly, I think a lot of asylum officers do kind of look negatively at it. They think it's weird. It should not be this way. It should not be this way, but it is. I think that they look at it as like, oh, well, then why didn't you just say it all the first time? This seems shady. It seems like you just talked with a lawyer or somebody who told you how to make a better case and you just made stuff up. I always encourage our clients to still say at their interview everything, even if it wasn't included in their declaration. But for some reason, when it's put in writing as like an amended or updated declaration, it is looked at more skeptically. It's taken with more skepticism. So, will they object to the new statement? I mean, they'll consider it, but I think honestly, it's kind of frowned upon. Is my take. Ancient, look, has your interview been scheduled? Is that why you did the new personal statement, or you just decided to do it out of the blue? Ancient, if your interview has not been scheduled, we should talk about suing the government to force them to schedule it, okay? You can schedule a consultation for that at winasylum.com. If your interview has been scheduled, then you'll want to go here, or I recommend that you go here and check out this information at asylumprep.com, okay? Asylumprep.com. Look, actually, guys, this is for everyone. Even if you don't have an interview scheduled, you can still do this now. You can still do this now, asylumprep.com, because what we're going to do is we're going to do a full-scale mock interview of 2 hours, and then we're going to do a follow-on debrief session of 30 minutes where we give you our feedback and all our best tips. And the thing is, we record those sessions, both the video and the audio, and we make AI-generated summaries, and also we give you transcripts. So these study materials you can keep using. You can keep benefiting from those and using those up until the day of your interview. So it doesn't really matter whether your interview is 2 weeks from now or 2 years from now. You can do this now with us while we're still offering this service. I don't know how long we're going to offer it. We're offering it now, so take advantage of it. Okay, you can do it now and keep benefiting from it. Doesn't matter whether you already have an interview scheduled or not. Okay, this is the best thing I could think of to give you the most help possible to maximize your chances for asylum success is the preparation. And this is what we're offering it through a program called the Mock Asylum Interview Experience, which you can find all about on asylumprep.com. Okay. That's it for today, guys. Got to run. Thank you for being with us. I'm Brian Manning, and it really is a pleasure. It's a pleasure and an honor to serve you, to support you in your asylum journey.